Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all doing well. Happy Wednesday, our first day of our remote home learning. So, I want to go over with you guys some of the assignments that you are going to see on Google Classroom as of today. You're going to have a few days to complete these, so please take note of all of the deadlines. You're going to notice that we are intentionally starting off pretty slow with a small workload this week. Our district is working really hard to ensure that all families have access to what they need for our remote learning. So we have 3 tasks that you're going to be working on over the next few days, and we're going to go over those today just to make sure that everybody understands what's going on. So first up, you guys are going to be asked to watch a video about the Lewis and Clark expedition. And to understand the context for that, we really need to understand a little bit more about our third president, Thomas Jefferson. In addition to having been a frenemy of Alexander Hamilton and John Adams, we see that Thomas Jefferson also had prior experience as an ambassador to France. He had experience serving as Secretary of State under Washington. He was vice president under Adams' administration. Now he gets the chance to be the leader of the country. He is elected for 2 terms, and during this time, he's going to face, obviously, several issues, just as Washington did, just as Adams did. His issues with foreign countries definitely weighed much on his mind. Not surprisingly, his biggest issues are going to be with Britain and with France. So starting with the issue of piracy, we see that many merchant ships are doing trades. And one of the biggest issues is that as ships were entering the Mediterranean Sea, they were basically being stopped by pirates, and the pirates were seizing the ships, oftentimes holding the crews for ransom. In other cases, especially with Britain, you are seeing that sailors were being kidnapped and they were being forced to serve in the British Navy. Jefferson, having had much experience with international relationships, really tries to compromise with both Britain and with France, but his diplomatic efforts fail time and time again. Finally, in 1807, he signs off on an embargo act, and essentially this embargo act is preventing ships, foreign ships, from entering into any U.S. ports. Now, the intention Jefferson had was that he thought stopping these shipments would put Britain and France into such a painful economic situation that they would back off and that they would leave American ships alone. Unfortunately, this idea failed. It was more painful to the US economy than it was to Britain or France. After 2 years, Congress repeals the act, and once again, British and French ships are allowed to come into US ports. And once again, these ships are continuing to attack American ships. All of this is going to eventually lead up to the War of 1812. But that is going to be for President James Madison to deal with. At home, President Jefferson actually has a huge win, and that was when he purchased the Louisiana Territory from France for a whopping $15 million. This was and still is considered to be probably the best real estate deal in the world. This deal doubles our country's landmass, which, as you can imagine, is going to please the American citizens. They will now be able to expand westward. Those who had the ideals of owning land will be able to do so. So during this time, President Jefferson contacts Captain Meriwether Lewis, and he does so in this formal letter that you see. He asks Lewis to lead a corps of discovery, Essentially, what he wants to do is find a water route from the Pacific Ocean. I'm sorry, to the Pacific Ocean. He wants to be able to use the Missouri River as the main point for doing so. He also wants the Corps of Discovery to work on building relationships with the natives. He wants to get a map of the uncharted region. Remember, this is an unknown area for the Americans. Furthermore, he's asking for the expedition to document new plants, new animals, and overall to establish an American presence in the West. We know this land is currently occupied. Even though Napoleon sells the land to America, Americans are not isolated and alone there. There are other people that are still on the land. So, our two key players in this video are going to be Captain Meriwether Lewis and Lieutenant William Clark. Lewis had a relationship with Jefferson, so he is the leader, considered the leader of the expedition. Very intelligent. He is an astronomer. He is an herbalist. He will definitely be recording the plants that he discovers as well as animals. He asks for the assistance of William Clark, who he had served in the army with. William Clark, he feels, will be a great balance to himself as a leader. He is an expert at map making. He is an expert when it comes to hunting and to working the various waterways. So these two will lead the Corps of Discovery. As you watch this video, we would want you to choose one of these men to focus on. And as you watch the video, almost take on what is this man experiencing? What is he seeing? What is he hearing? What is he tasting? What is he feeling? What is he thinking? And some of this you're going to see directly in the video, and some of it you're going to need to infer. I would encourage you to take some notes as you watch the film. You'll notice that in Google Classroom, there will be a link to this observation chart. You don't have to use this chart, but you do need to take some type of notes as you're watching the video. This will be important because next week, we're going to ask you to do a follow-up assignment, and you'll see that your notes will be helpful. So you'll see that in Google Classroom. In addition to doing the assignment on Lewis and Clark, you have a couple of other things to work on. The next one is going to be your IR book. You should have finished, or you should finish reading your IR book by Friday. And after you're done, we're going to ask that you complete this graphic organizer. Essentially, you guys, this is an outline for a AA paragraph. I'm just not asking you to write out the full paragraph. You're going to want to come up with a theme statement. This should follow all the do's and don'ts criteria that will be posted again in Google Classroom as a reminder. You want to think about how the author conveys the theme. Remember that this is always done either through a character or person, a setting, or a conflict. So please be as specific as possible. You'll want to flag 2 pieces of evidence that you think help to best illustrate the theme. Please make sure that you include the MLA citation and that you have punctuated your evidence correctly. And then you want to go here and explain how each piece of evidence demonstrates the theme. If you think about, you guys, this is that level 2 analysis. This is where you're connecting the dots for your audience. This is how this piece of information really shows us this lesson about life. And then finally, you are going to work on why the theme is important in today's society. Usually in a AA paragraph, this would be that concluding sentence. So please type your responses directly into the document. It will automatically make a copy for you, and then you'll want to turn that in by Friday. I am fine with you working with your book club members on coming up with a theme statement and even flagging your evidence. However, I really want you to make sure that your explanations and your why is this theme important in today's society are unique and in your own words. So this should be different than what your book club members say. So again, if you want to work with your book club, you're welcome to do that. Finally, the third assignment that you have is about Newsela. So you'll notice in Google Classroom there is going to be a graphic organizer that goes over task 1. And then there will be a task 2 where you're taking the information that you collected through your research and you're writing an argumentative paragraph. Again, all of this is in Google Classroom. This research project will get you into our 2020 election. When you go to Newsela and you log in, you'll notice that you have this Election 2020 button up at the top. If you click on that, it'll bring up this side panel, and you're going to click on Candidate Biographies. From here, you'll see our current 3 big candidates that are still in the presidential race. So, for example, we could click here on Donald Trump. It's going to give us these 2 articles that you can read. In addition to these 2 articles, if you would like to do outside research, we encourage you to do so. For each article, you'll type in title and author, or if you're using something outside of Newsela, you can include the website link, the URL. All right, guys, so I think that about covers the 3 basic assignments. As a reminder, the Lewis and Clark video should be watched by Friday, taking your notes. Your IR book should be completed by Friday, and you should complete your graphic organizer and turn that in by the end of day on Friday. The Newsela project, we're giving you a little bit extra time. You won't need to turn that in until Tuesday. Of course, if you finish early, feel free to go ahead and turn it in then. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email. It is going to take me a little bit of time to reply back, so don't expect to have an immediate response. Sometimes I might be able to reply immediately, other times it's going to take me a little while. So I ask that you just please be patient, but reach out if you have any questions. I hope you have a great week. I'll continue to check in with you daily on Google Classroom, just with some reminders. Bye, guys.